know, to me, that's how your rights slowly get taken away, because you don't even realize they're being taken away until it's too late. And then you want to have chickens, and you go, you're not allowed to have chickens. Why not? Because the HOA says so. Well, why do they say so? Because you moved here. Learning to be self-sufficient is something that I always admired, I guess, about older generations, was that they knew how to do things, you know, and we don't really know how to do much anymore. That's our garbage, and this is a result of us recycling since we've been here. We actually have been recycling from day one, and we realized real quick that there's no garbage collection out here. So we had to figure out, what are we gonna do with our trash? We do have a certain amount of garbage that has to go to the dump, and unfortunately it's garbage because we just haven't figured out a way to reuse it. This is a side of homesteading that most people aren't gonna show you because it doesn't get clicks, but this is reality. Most of this will go to the dump, and I'll have to take my truck, load it up, take it to the dump, and I pay for that. And you get a real intimate understanding of where your garbage goes when you actually have to do it yourself. I'm sure everybody knows it goes to the dump, but you don't actually see the dump, so you don't actually have to experience and see how dirty this process is, and it makes you realize how much garbage we make. Out of sight, out of mind is, in my opinion, probably the biggest problem. I think that with water too, so that's a big one. So it's probably the most unique part of my property, is that I have a train that runs through my parcel. Yeah, the train itself is something that neither my wife or I thought we were going to deal with. We decided to give it a try, and now that we've been out here for 16 months now, it doesn't bother us at all. So in a way, it keeps people away, so I kind of like that. I have about 5 acres between where that train is right there and this track right here. The reason I got land wasn't because I couldn't do this in my backyard to a certain degree. I spend 90% of my time in less than 2,000 square feet. I will say it's definitely a misconception that you have to have land to homestead. Yeah, it's a good girl. Yes, a good girl. Yes. One of the things you'll notice when you're out here is that I have probably 7 or 8 projects going on at once. This is a pallet shed, or was a pallet shed. Eventually this is going to be a hydroponic grow room. Like you'll see, most of the projects here are 75% complete, 50% complete. It's by design, actually, because what I found it does a couple things. Number one, keeps me from getting stale. I like to jump from project to project, and then sometimes I'll get stuck on something where I will say, you know, I don't know if I necessarily want it done this way. So I'm gonna think about it for a while. Slowly but surely, I see all of these things getting done. And so it works for me. It may not work for everybody, but for me, that's how I operate out here. All right, so as you can see here, this is my special garden. And this garden here is very important to me because this is kind of what I use for my medication. I don't do it a lot, but I do it enough to where it's worth growing my own. Growing your own is actually really neat because you can control the whole process, just like with any vegetable or produce or herb. I make sure that nothing's been sprayed here. Everything's growing in natural dirt. I started these from seed. There's different varieties here. I will look at the trichomes on my plants using a magnifying glass.